The Grapes of Wrath is a 1939 novel by the Nobel Prize-winning American author John Steinbeck. When it was first published, it was an immediate critical and commercial success. It won its author a Pulitzer Prize, although it was attacked in some quarters as being a socialist distortion of reality. Although that's almost certainly unfair, the novel does have a dark backstory, to which I'll return later. It's a fictionalized account of the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, a relentless series of sandstorms that decimated crops on the prairies in both the USA and in Canada, and whose ultimate cause was probably a combination of poor farming methods and prolonged drought. It was augmented by the accompanying Great Depression. The novel focuses on one family, the Joads from Oklahoma. The Joads are tenant farmers, and repeated crop failure has ruined them. The banks have repossessed their property and they're effectively homeless. They read a handbill advertisement about how employers in the state of California are paying migrant workers good wages, so they convert a station wagon, load up their few remaining goods, and set off. It's a journey of about 1,500 miles, and it's far from easy. Some of them die on the way, some leave, they're frequently hungry, the wagon breaks down, and so on. And of course, when they get to California, everything they've been told is a lie. The state has a massive labour surplus, partly because so many other families have done what the Joads have, and exploitation is rife, and migrants are despised as the lowest of the low. It's a timeless story, and of course it's as prevalent today in the third decade of the 21st century as it was then. Steinbeck presents it as a biblical epic of sorts, drawing heavily on the Exodus story, but with a grim twist. While the banks are Pharaoh and the journey is the wilderness, the promised land is a travesty, a reversal of everything they've been led to expect. Steinbeck had difficulty finding a title. The Grapes of Wrath was suggested by his wife. It comes from the Battle Hymn of the Republic and ultimately from the Book of Revelation, which describes God inflicting punishment on the enemies of righteousness. Despite the fact that the book has a long, uninterrupted history of being praised, the Nobel Prize Committee was particularly effusive. It does have a dark secret, or did until recently. When Steinbeck wrote the novel, he used a variety of sources, but there was a working-class Oklahoman woman, roughly 5 years his junior, working on a novel about the same thing. Sonora Babb was living in the migrant camps in California, and she'd made extensive notes which she showed to her supervisor in the camp. Unbeknown to her supervisor showed them to Steinbeck. When the Grapes of Wrath first appeared, she was disturbed to find many of her own themes represented, the substitution of music for religion, for example, and even a specific scene. To make matters worse, her publisher cancelled her book. Steinbeck had got there first, he was more famous, and hers could only look like a repetition, or even worse, an imitation. Steinbeck always acknowledged the importance of Babb's supervisor for helping with the Grapes of Wrath, but he never mentioned Babb herself. Her book, whose names are unknown, didn't appear until 2004 when she was 97. She died a year later, leaving many Steinbeck scholars feeling slightly troubled. Some people will say that the whole story is irrelevant. The point surely was to achieve justice for the victims of the Dust Bowl, and as an established writer, Steinbeck was better placed to achieve that. Babb was unknown. Her account would likely have been ignored. Besides, whichever way you look at it, The Grapes of Wrath is a work of genius. Correct or not, I think it's difficult not to feel at least slightly uneasy. I don't know about you.